Hey everybody, how's it going today? And welcome back to another exciting, or rather, I guess I should say more of a humble episode, because in today's episode, we're going to be talking and giving another update about the second stimulus package / second stimulus check, but specifically focusing all about the unemployment benefits and the extension of the $600. Because as we probably know, the deadline to the expiration date, I think of July 31st, is coming very, very soon. And so obviously this has not been an easy time for a lot of different people, so I feel like this is something that I kind of really just wanted to address in today's video. But before we begin, I guess I just wanted to say welcome guys to a brand new month. It is so crazy that we are now walking into the month of July 1st, and that also means we have officially just crossed the halfway point of this year so far. This crazy year with all sorts of crazy different events left and right. Smash the like button if you agree with that, so I know you guys are with me, because it has obviously been so many different events, and I could go on a tangent, from like the Australian fires to like the locusts in Africa to all of like the Hong Kong protests, the COVID pandemic crazy situation, all of this stuff going on left and right, the economy, the unemployment rates, 50 million people unemployed, earthquakes, natural disasters, just like a dust cloud in the south, all sorts of riots, the George Floyd protests and riots. If you have followed my channel way back, you probably already know a couple of the videos I made all the way back, but if not, definitely subscribe if you're brand new here. Would love to have you guys, but you've probably at least already followed the news with everything that has been going on, from like the fires, burnings, lootings, everything. I'm here in New York City, but so today we're going to be focusing specifically about the unemployment benefits. So I'm just going to roll the introduction and let's get this thing started. So there has been actually a letter that some people have made videos already about, and it's a very objective letter, but all it really is it just talks about the economic impacts that can potentially happen if they don't extend the unemployment benefits, but also what happens if they do. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I want this to be a little bit more about my own personal sentiment because it is the more personal side. So I'm just going to link the letter below, but it does talk about a little bit if you guys are interested in reading it. So the real fast answer that's going on right now is that we actually to this day still do not know whether or not they're going to extend it. But I will say one thing, the other fast answer is to give my personal thoughts is I still am a huge believer that they will extend the unemployment benefits, but I'm a little bit hesitant to think if it's going to really be $600. I personally feel that the best move would be to extend the unemployment benefits, but perhaps just simply lower it down. In fact, I will also say this is that because currently we all know that the only reason we haven't hit this like extension situation is because of the Senate Republicans. Literally because they have not wanted to propose anything, because they feel that they want to just get people back to work, even though there are so many problematic things about it, which is what we're going to be talking about in today's video, that I personally feel that when you really think deep into it, it would actually be in their best interest to approve of the second stimulus package and to extend the unemployment benefits. And I really believe that by extending it, if they don't extend it, the amount of damage, suffering, and pain that is going to be done to every single person, not just the unemployed, but even the regular people, even to the economy, even to the Republicans, the Democrats, whoever you are, I think is going to be massive. And that's what today's video is going to be about. So definitely watch all the way to the end, because I'm going to offer my insight that I think is hopefully going to shed a lot of insight to why I think that they're going to extend it, and that if they don't extend it, it's going to cost a lot for this country. So the current problem with our situation is that the Democrats really want to extend the unemployment benefits, but it's really the Republicans that are very hesitant, because they're afraid that if they extend it, it's going to not incentivize people enough to want to go back to work. My personal belief, I think it's so problematic with this thought, is because the problem is that right now there are just physically not enough jobs that are going around. If anything, every single day that goes by, companies are starting to declare, going bankrupt, laying off because there's not enough businesses and all that kind of stuff left and right. So this isn't even a problem with laziness. This isn't like people trying to become lazy. What is going on right now is that if they don't extend it, we just physically don't have a job or a place to go. There are maybe 50 million people unemployed, but then there's maybe only 20 job openings. And the even sadder part is that because we see the unemployment slowly starting to go down a little bit, but the reason why the unemployment has actually gone down down a little bit recently is not because there have actually been any more jobs, but it's really just been because people are going back to work. But once those people go back to work, as a big picture, slowly more and more people are going to be slowly getting laid off from it. So at the end of the day, there's just almost no solution to it. You know, you Republicans want to put people back to work, but where are the jobs? What makes matter even worse is even looking at it on a financial basis, because with less people having money to physically spend, every single person is now going to be hoarding cash and holding it because they don't want to actually spend their money. They don't want to travel. They don't want to spend it, you know, buying consumer goods. The less people spend their money and the more they kind of try to just hoard cash in general, all this is going to do is it's going to make even more businesses suffer even more as we go forward. And all this is going to do is lead to even more people going unemployed, or even businesses starting to close now. And for some of these big companies, like we're talking about like JCPenney's, we could be talking about tens of thousands of different, you know, workers out in this country. And like this is just one company out of like the potentially 100,000s that are out there. And so with that being said, the problem is that not only now are there more people trying to look for work, but if companies start to go bankrupt, there's going to be even less jobs that exist now as we go forward. The other huge thing is that if you want to look at things even on the health side, right now we are starting to experience insane rises in cases with the health pandemic coming back again. Some people say this is a wave 2, some people say that we haven't even finished wave 1 and this is just an extension. But the point is that like we've already seen so many rising cases, especially in a lot of the southern states like Texas, Florida, Arizona. I've heard even California has been impacted. Basically that whole strip of like the South, and then you can even say the West Coast. I'm personally in New York City, so it is thankfully a little bit better, but it doesn't change the fact that with every single city slowly, or state slowly starting to lock down, you know, go back, you know, back in time with like the reopening process, it means that more businesses are starting to get locked down again, forced to close. Disneyland, Broadway has already been extending their like reopening time, and it just means that because of this, there will be even less jobs that exist now on top of everything that we've already just started talking about. And then the other thing that I think that has been a little bit less talked about, I think, has also been education, because I think it's also important to note that like there was some article out there that basically said that like significantly less people this year have actually chosen to go to college for multiple reasons, because first off is that a lot of people have felt that there's just been so much uncertainty about whether school is actually going to happen that they just don't even feel like it's going to be worth it to pay for college. I did make one previous video about like how it's crazy to think that today there are some colleges that are now charging $80,000, yes, $80,000 for college tuition every single year. And so because of that reason, with less people deciding to go to college, less people deciding to go to school, that also means now that there's going to be more people trying to get a job instead, because they have to fund and help feed their families and, you know, their whole lifestyle because of that reason, which means not only, as we've already mentioned, that are there less jobs, but there are now going to be even more people that are looking for the job. This is just crazy on two sides, basically. And then the other huge thing that we also, on top of everything that we've mentioned, because there's so much to say, is that the more you don't pass that second stimulus check, the more you're going to anger the average American. And the anger that the average American is, the more craziness is going to happen into this country. A lot of people talked about how there's a huge reason why we feel that, like, one of the reasons why the George Floyd protests have been so big, aside from the fact that because of the actual, like, you know, emotional value of wanting to, you know, make moves to try to change and create social justice, it's also because compared to almost any time in history, this is probably the best time, because this is the time period where we have so many people that are unemployed or out of school, that what better time in history will we have this sheer amount of free time? But you see, it's because if you let these people run wild and continue to protest, it also means that not only are you able to damage the economy, but you're causing more destruction, more fires, increased crime rate, because you, again, like they always say that, like, during times of hardship, people are more likely to commit crimes, because, you know, it's always that thought. It's like, oh, well, you know, I don't have much money, you know, you guys are screwing me over, I'm gonna go rob a bank tomorrow. What are you gonna do? You can't lose, you know, go ahead and sue me. Is it really worth it? Oh, absolutely, because if I don't have the money, I'm not really gonna have to worry about living to the next month anyway, right? So the problem with really is going on is that the angrier the Americans are the more emotional people are going to get, the more violence, the more crime, the more destruction, which means the even greater amount of damage that's going to be done. All of that money that they now have to spend to repair, like the precinct, the government offices, the buildings that have been burned down, all that kind of stuff, you guys could have used that money to literally fund the stimulus package. On top of that, it also means that if people have a lot less money to physically spend, it also means that, again, as we've mentioned, they're going to be hoarding a lot of cash. They're not going to be wanting to stimulate economic activity, which is why the stimulus package is called the stimulus package, because it's meant to stimulate the economy. So the problem with that is that if people keep hoarding onto cash, this is going to lead to even more businesses that are going to go down under, and it also means that it's going to potentially crash the stock market. Now, I occasionally make a bunch of videos about the stock market and all that, so definitely hit the subscribe button if you are interested in stock investing or any of these like financial based topics in general. But basically, the only reason the stock market is reasonably high right now is just because of the feds, and also because of outlook. There is a little bit of like a forward outlook that like people think the economy is going to get a lot better, but you see, if they don't pass a lot of these benefits, the sentiment is going to go down. People are now going to really have hard sentiments to where this country is going to be going, and that means that potentially they can't even save it anymore, and the market's going to truly potentially pop now, almost exactly like the Bitcoin bubble back in like 2000, like the beginning of 2018. And I think it's fair to say that right now, I don't believe Donald Trump or the Republicans is going to want that to happen, because the reality of the situation is that a lot of these like multi-corporation investors, they have a ton of money inside of the stock market, inside of these big corporations. So again, it's not only going to benefit us, but it would actually be in your interest. If you are a Senate Republican sitting in your office right now chilling around, it would actually be in your interest to be able to do this. And I think the final thing I really want to talk about is that I think it's very fair to say that as of the last couple of months, regardless of your political affiliation, the Republican Party, if you really think about the polls do not lie, and you know, it's very well known fact that a lot of people do not like Donald Trump right now, do not like the Republican Party. If you are a Republican, a Senate Republican specifically, or someone that runs that party, I think it's fair to say that if you want people to vote for you during election day, because as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, is that what we're recognizing now, and the beauty of this is that people have to recognize, is that for you and I, in the common American, we should be the people that have the voice, which is the beauty of being in a democracy, a country, you know, that runs on like free speech. And I think it's that because the Republicans have to realize that one of the reasons it's going to cost them even more is because the more you anger these Americans, the less we will want to vote for you. And the even better part, if you are not a Republican, in that case, is because it also means that on the Democratic side, the more things we can point out that you guys as a Senate Republican did wrong. And the only reason I'm pointing at the Senate Republicans is because they are the only reasons why, to this day, we haven't passed anything. In fact, I heard that they're basically apparently planning to go on vacation, apparently, I think next month. No, not next month, this month, because now that we're in July, I'm still back in June, which makes matter even crazier. So basically, the bottom line I really wanted to make is that I just think that it would be in the best interest of every single person if the Senate Republicans can stop taking so many vacations and really think through that if they don't extend the unemployment benefits, almost every single person, in fact, not every, but almost every single person, group, and even party, both political party, but even in every definition of the word party, is going to suffer in some kind of way. Because the reality is as I kind of mentioned in this video, everything is kind of linked and tied together. If you don't have enough jobs, people don't have an actual physical job to go back to, especially as we've already concluded that there are significantly less jobs and more of a demand for jobs. This is a lose-lose battle, especially with the health pandemic now rising. Cities are now starting to close down again, which means even less jobs. Students are not trying to go to college, so because of that, once again, even more demand for jobs. And even on the Senate Republican side, they should realize that the more they don't do this, this is going to impact the election, their support, their voters, everything that kind of goes on. And I think it's very fair to say even them, they are the decision makers, are going to be impacted in some way. So I hope they start to actually realize this and do something. But that's kind of me just sharing my own insight. Maybe smash the like button if you guys agree or just enjoyed this talk. Or if you guys don't, that's okay too. Maybe comment down below what you guys are personally thinking or really about anything at all. Subscribe if you're new here, if you're interested in videos like this about the stimulus package, plan, or finance, or anything like that in general. But anyway, might make another future video where I give you guys an update if something comes up. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys. Hoping for the absolute best wishes for the sake of every single person, as we have mentioned in this video.